Dear international community, now you know the reason we cannot just stand up to this administration. We will literally be in the freaking head. We are not okay here. Let's just go ahead and remove activists from your bio, shall we? White women, let me ask you a question real quick. What did you think a revolution would look like? What did you think it would entail? Did you think it would be sitting in the comfort of your home, wearing your handmaid's tale costume, sporting your blue bracelets, and writing strongly worded emails? One of my favorite mutuals, Hawk, posted a video where he said that white people have to change this. You created it and you alone have the power to fix it. And the comment section of that video was flooded with, how? How do we do it? What do we do, Hawk? I'll tell you what you do. Invoke the mindset of your ancestors. Act like there's a bunch of black people that want equal rights. Invoke the mindset of your ancestors and pretend it's a bunch of indigenous people whose land you want. At this stage in the game, anyone asking how and what do we do, it is willful and deliberate ignorance. The Ukrainians have shown you what you need to do. The French have shown you what you need to do. Black people have shown you what you need to do. Just admit that you're afraid. I can respect that at least. Now, if you'll excuse me, while you all are trying to figure out what to do, I've got to get to work and help get jobs for all of the people that have been displaced under this administration.
You know, seeing so many white people today struggling with what happened yesterday in Minnesota, I want you to think about that for a second. Because that's what black people in this country since 1619 have been treated like. Generation after generation after generation after generation. Whipped, beaten, put in trees on church and said we're a Christian nation. Having a clause in the Constitution that says you were only worth 3/5 of a white man. Paying municipalities in Charleston, South Carolina to chain their slaves and then to put salt in the wounds after they whipped them. Segregation, Jim Crow, not having the right to vote. Having your great-grandparents put in a will. Having your house redlined. Having your house appraised at a different price. Being called the N-word. Not getting a job because your name might sound black. Having to give the talk to your kids for when a white cop pulls you over, you know, just because you might be a criminal. Now, I want you to think about your reaction to what happened yesterday in that context. Because too many of you people that are losing your shit over what happened yesterday are the same people that are unwilling to have that conversation with people in your own life. Because it's going to jeopardize your white privilege. You don't want to talk to your brother or your mom or your dad or your cousin or your uncle or your aunt because it's going to be weird next time I see them. Oh, they're going to unfriend me on Facebook. They may not come over for Thanksgiving. So what? Who cares? Are you going to take a stand or are you just going to be complete?
Hello, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to the channel. I'm hoping that you're doing great from whatever you're watching me from. Let me say something. I think white people are learning that the most important persons or people in the United States is a group of black people. The black Americans have been so much instrumental in shaping political thinking of people. And also think about how black people tried to warn everyone about what Trump will do. But I'm not going to blame nobody. Let's just get into the history. And I hope this is going to be making sense. You understand when black people are trying to complain about all these over surveillance, police brutality, harassment, and everything. And just recently, something happened in Minneapolis. That tragic incidents that happened really showed a reflection. And of course, no one is celebrating the death of nobody, right? But I think it is time for people to be just become critical about all these things that are happening. Because we need to see people for who they are. You know, when a person tells you who they are, please listen to them. Remember, black people for the longest time have always been trying to struggle and tell you that they're going through all this, but you took it as a joke, because definitely it wasn't a white person. And black people were asking for solidarity. It didn't make sense to you. You didn't understand. While black people are protesting, it didn't make sense to you. You just thought that these are a group of people that don't have nothing to do. They're lazy. That's why they're on the streets complaining about people who have died. But now look, all these systemic issues are being exposed because the system is crumbling down, and it's exposing the United States, and it's exposing America generally how it is. And that's how the United States operates. Because this is a perfect case scenario of what black people have been warning you all about. So you did not see the importance of solidarity. But right now you need the voices of black people. But of course, I'm still seeing black people talking about this. I'm still seeing black people still standing for you. And that's okay, because that's all it takes. It takes to be human. And I don't know how white people, it was so much hard for you to just be human, because for the longest time, black people have always been asking you for solidarity, but you didn't give them that. So you understand how these things goes. What I'm proud that is happening is that white people are getting to learn that all these systemic issues are all getting to be exposed. And so, brothers and sisters, I want us to watch this video, and I'm going to be back. I'll be sharing my thoughts. If you're watching me for the first time, consider subscribing to the channel. You can join the membership and really get to work on for you. So let's get into it.
Listen to what's happening in this country. This is what happened in Germany. First, they came for the immigrants, but I wasn't an immigrant. Then they came for the black people, but I wasn't black. Then they came for the transgenders, but I wasn't transgender. And then they came for me. And too many people that look like me are waiting for that to happen. Michelle Obama told us last year in her speech at the DNC that if you think that your privilege will keep you safe from the darkness, if you think the darkness isn't coming to your doorstep, you are sadly mistaken. And the reason that we're still here in 2026 is because white people have not treated everybody else equal. And too many people that look like me haven't given a damn because it didn't affect them. Their family wasn't in a tree. Their family wasn't whipped. Their family wasn't put in somebody's will. Their family wasn't racially profiled. Oh, that's horrible, but I can't talk about it. I don't do politics. That is the very definition of white privilege. And it has nothing to do with how much money you make or what kind of house you live in or your financial status. Nothing. Zero. In fact, if you go look at the slave trade in the South and you look at some of the black population today, you're going to see it's very similar because of generational poverty. That's why white people burnt down Black Wall Street, because they saw black people getting wealth and they're like, no, we good. We don't want that. We just want to think that we're equal for all people, but we're really not. And you still cannot grasp your head around the MAGA Make America White Again. They couldn't stomach a black man in the White House instead of out in the fields picking their cotton. They would rather burn Rome to the ground than have the most qualified black woman in the history of our country be the president. That is a fact. And too many of you either ignore it or don't want to have that uncomfortable conversation in your life. You say you care, but you don't, because actions speak louder than words. I've lost friends. I've lost family. I've lost business to this. If I'm going to call myself a person of faith and say I love my neighbors as myself, that means all my neighbors, even the ones that I don't know, especially the ones that are treated differently, that don't look like me. So for you Christians out there that say you love your neighbor as yourself, You ask yourself that question today. Would Jesus be sitting around not worrying about upsetting Uncle Bob and cousin Elmer and my mom and dad who voted for this man who assaults women? Or would he be out there protesting at the ICE raids? Would he be flipping tables over? Would he be on the halls of Congress? I know what my answer is. That dude be out there tearing stuff up. Are you going to be on the right side of history or on the white side of history? Because far too many of you are staying on the latter right now because of your privilege. Have a white day.
It doesn't matter if you're the direct descendant of white people outside of America. Once you're in America, you're inherited into the white American privilege. Book of Revelation. They made sure that when they told Irish people hundreds of years ago, well, you can be white. But white supremacy and white privilege didn't start in America. It started actually because of the outside white people, the European. It started, the people you're directly descendant from. America, United States of America is a direct descendant of those same people. White America didn't exist until these people colonized and where they come from. You experiencing violence at the hands of a white government outside of America and you are white people is still not the same. It's not the same because that's a homogenous society. I'm talking about white people not experiencing and seeing themselves be victims of trauma and violence like this within the context of being around people of color and black people. Yes, it could be a white Russian person and a white Ukrainian person. And the Russian person can be like, man, fuck you, Ukrainian person. But the moment that the black person is in the situation, the context shifts. Who's going to experience the most violence? Poor French people having to revolt against the French government, yet while they were enslaving black folks outside of the French land. You having trauma as a white person, state-sanctioned trauma, and it does not negate the fact that you still do not see yourself as a white person juxtaposition to black and brown folks having the same violence. Juxtaposition in context. Even the way you being a white immigrant is treated differently. Like, what are we talking about? Your environment shifts and therefore so do your privileges. I don't know why that feels difficult. I could argue that you are the direct descendants of people who created the white American behaviors. This is your baby. This is your cousins. These white American folks over here is your cousins. You just don't like them. You annoyed by them. You're like, oh my God, here they go over there because they wild out a little more and they loudmouth and they young, but they your cousins, baby. On this note, you might have been descendants of white people that have experienced violence at the hands of other white people, but you're not white people that have experienced violence, systemic, state-sanctioned violence at the hands of black and brown people. That is different. So therefore, the relationship between you as a white person, regardless of your ethnicity, with black and brown folks, regardless of their ethnicity, and the violence that both groups receive, who they experience violence from, is different. You don't have to be white American or come from the founding fucking fathers from 400 years ago to still inherit all of that bullshit. Thank you.
The fact that we have to fear for our own safety when we want to make the world a better place should be very telling of the kind of world we live in. Like, I was just talking to another creator who does anti-racism work, and she was like, oh, she wants to do she does anti-racism work, but she tries to make it funny so that she doesn't, get flagged by the people in charge of the system. We're trying to dismantle systems that are harmful to everyone, but because the systems are upheld by people who are harmful to everyone, it is putting ourselves at risk to try to dismantle systems that are harmful for everyone, but, helping a few. We know that. We know as a collective, as a society, that bad people are in power. They have a lot of power. The fact that they have this power is abusive and hurting everyone. That if you try to take on the people who are in power, it is dangerous for you. But yet we still act like these systems don't exist. That these power structures don't exist, that the world that we live in is mostly fine and dandy with the occasional bad person. And it's like, what? Whistleblowers, they disappear, they unalive themselves, heavy air quotes. Like, Like people who are trying to do good. I was looking at this man in Africa. He invented a way to pull power from radio waves, which is literally basically pulling power out of thin air. He's gone. There was someone who invented a way to pull water out of the air. Gone. People who understand how to cure cancer or prevent cancer mysteriously disappeared. It's just like, how many whistleblowers, how many people doing good things have to be gone, disappeared for people to realize we are in the bad place? Like, like it is not a small thing. Like, the people who are in power have corrupted the entire world, and we as a population across the globe need to stand up and say, not anymore, bucko. Like in solidarity. Like it doesn't matter if you're white, it doesn't matter if you're black, if you're Hispanic, if you're Asian, if you're Native American, South American, African. Like, y'all, they got us. They have their foot on our necks. Everyone on this planet. Like, I think it's like 50% of the global wealth. The global wealth is held by like 10% of the world, not even 10, like 3% of the entire world's population. 3% of people on this, of the 8 billion of us walking around, 3% own like 90% of the wealth in the globe. First of all, they can't own anything. I'm gonna say that on every TikTok video that I create. People cannot own a river. You cannot own a mountain. You cannot own a plot of land even. You cannot own it. It is land. It was there before you came. It'll be there after you came. It was there before humans. It'll be there after humans. You can't have it. It's not yours. It wasn't, you didn't make it. If you did not create the ground that you're walking on, you cannot have it. It is not yours. And even then, when you create something, it's still not yours. It is a creation of human nature. It is a creation of all of the thoughts and ideas that came before you, and you packaged it up differently, and now it's a different thing, and that thing will be taken as an idea for someone in the future who will package this up differently and add to it and make something else. So it's just like, do you own it? You can't own it. You can create things. You can create a human, right? My child, I created him, but he's not mine. I don't own him. I care for him. I nurture him. I ensure he has what he needs, but he's a human being. You cannot own a human being, because yes, I grew him in my body, but still, even then, he's not mine. I do not own my child. That's weird. You can't own a person. I have a husband. I don't own my husband. It's weird. You can't own a person. If he wants to leave, he can leave. If he wants to stay, he can stay. If he's happy, that's great. If he's not, I'm so sorry. Like, what do you want me to do? I'm going to be myself. And if you like me, you can hang around myself. If you don't like me, then you can not hang around myself. You have free will. You're a human. I don't own you. Like, there's like the whole weird men being possessive over women and unaliving them if they try to go do something they don't want to do is weird. It's weird. Even women who are possessive over their men, that's also weird. You can't own a human. Being possessive is weird. Jealousy is weird. It's not weird. It's like, it's a little weird. It's a little weird. I get it. But it's like, why are you jealous? Is because you want something that you don't have, or your partner is like giving attention to someone that you don't want them to give attention to, because now you feel insecure and you feel like maybe they'll leave you for them. And that feeling of not wanting to be left, that is, a fear of rejection. But it also can come from fear of rejection, but also comes from a sense of ownership. It feels like this person should not leave me for this other person because they're mine. So it goes back to, you feel like you own another person. So anyways, that's a little bit left. Back to land ownership. You cannot own land, and thus you cannot own resources, and thus you cannot own wealth, really. Even like, you can't own wealth. They can own the paper money that they have created as a barrier for us to have access to natural resources. Like, we should be able to walk up to a river, any river anywhere, and get a cup of water and drink it if we want to. You can't own a river. You can't own the land that a river is on. You can't do that. You cannot do that. And it's such a weird concept that we've let fly. And that is how we've let all these people hoard all the wealth. We've let them create systems that that control our mind, that makes us feel like we can't go take what is naturally that belongs to the world, that belongs to the community, because I'm scared of these systems. These systems are made up. Y'all, this video is gonna get taken down. Let me stop talking before the CIA comes or something.
The last 72 hours has been very traumatizing to the white community here in America. They've never experienced something like this before. Ever. So much is happening at once. Not just the incident itself, the brutal murder, the brutal execution by ICE agent to an American civilian, unarmed, right? It's now the deconstruction of that it could never be me mindset. It'll always be them. It could never be me or someone who looks like me. It's only them. And I can imagine how difficult this must be for you right now. For white people, though. Only for the white community here in America. See, the Black Americans, the Black immigrants, the Black migrants, we know this feeling all too well. All too well, considering the same place in which your white woman got her face blown off, 4 blocks away, our Black George Floyd got kneeled on to the point of suffocation. We know. And to think, if only back then, the white community would have collectively joined our efforts in trying to gain justice for George Floyd, maybe Renee would still be here. But we can't play shoulda, coulda, woulda, can we? When it was Breonna Taylor who got shot, sleeping on her couch in her house, we didn't get any collective effort from you. When it was Tamar Rice who got shot for playing with a toy gun, we didn't get any collective effort from you. When it was Trayvon Martin who got shot and killed because he had an Arizona can and some Skittles, we didn't get this collective effort in trying to stop and end brutality via government backed law enforcement, military enforcement, any of the sort. You didn't care because that mindset of it's not me, it's them. Oh, it had a hold on you. It had a hold on you. In the words of Lyndon B. Johnson, if you can convince the lowest white person that it's the Black person that they need to worry about, they won't notice that it's the white man, the rich white man that's picking their pocket. And now the veil has fallen. It's fallen. And now you're realizing, you're experiencing the same grief, the same hurt, the same anger that Black America, that the colored people here in America, that the immigrants and migrants here in America have been dealing with at the hands of you. You. Because you didn't care about innocent souls. You only cared about white lives. It's time for you to catch up, white America. It's time for you to catch up. So now you guys have Renee Nicole Good. Say her name. Say her name. Time to catch up to us. Time to catch up to us.
I don't know what's more aggravating at this point. Y'all sitting here in 2026 not understanding what martial law is because you need the dictator to tell you that that's what he's doing instead of looking around you and realizing that you're already in it. Or the fact that I found out that white women are out here co-opting Say Her Name for Renee Good's murder, but y'all didn't give a damn about Keith Porter, the man that was killed by Border Patrol agent off duty at that while he was celebrating during New Year's Eve. Y'all ain't marching for him. You're marching for that white woman. And you're doing it under a hashtag that Black women had to make up because our names were getting ignored when police brutality came knocking at our doors. Like, this is why this is just another reason why that we're not coming out to help y'all. We have been resting, me personally, I've been resting this whole time, but most Black women decided to finally start resting after the way y'all betrayed Black women yet again in this past election, allowing this dictator back in office because rigging be damned, y'all still voted the way you did. And it's the typical white supremacist BS, because after you make it clear that you do not give a damn about us and don't want us in positions of power over you, you are waiting for us to save you from yourselves at our own expense. at the expense of our body, our lives, our mental and emotional labor. You just keep expecting it. You fake allies and all that, y'all keep expecting something out of us when you give us nothing in return. But it's the other side of that, because y'all be really just pissing me off, because you think that now, I see people saying hold the line, Minnesota, don't get violent because he'll declare martial law on you. Y'all had to close the school in Minnesota because ICE agents, after murdering Renee, went around the corner, terrorized that building, sprayed tear gas or whatever as those kids were leaving school that day. I got news for y'all, and I'm not holding y'all hand. You're already under martial law. We are already under martial law. Just like the abortion ban, we're also under. They just won't tell you that that's what it is, but that's exactly what is happening. If it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it doesn't have to introduce itself to be a duck for you to know that it's a duck. You are under martial law right now. What difference does it make if you fight back or not? He gonna tell you that's what it is? A white woman was killed in broad day. That man said that if he was elected, he could kill someone in the middle of Times Square the same way that ICE agent murdered Renee. The same way that off-duty agent murdered Keith Porter in California. But y'all...
ICE isn't coming after me. They're only going after criminals. Look at Renee Good. She was a white U.S. citizen who was murdered by ICE for trying to drive away. I understand why she was trying to drive away. Like, I have been stopped at like a border patrol stop and all they did was look at me. They didn't even check my ID. I go through the airport. It's not a concern to me. It's not even too concerning when I get pulled over. One time I got pulled over because of a...
So brothers and sisters, you've heard all these white folks and black people also talk about this. But the most important thing is that these concepts highlights a deep contradiction in our solidarity and empathy have been defined in American society. Understand that for decades, when Black Americans protested police brutality, racial violence, voter suppression, or economic exclusion, or mass incarceration, they were often told explicitly or subtly that these issues were identity-based and only relevant to Black people. So many white Americans were discouraged from showing up, from speaking out, or getting involved, either because they were told it wasn't their fight, or because they themselves believed that racism did not affect their lives. Protest was framed as legitimate if the harm was not personally experienced. And all this reinforced the idea that injustice only matters when it is individuals rather than systemic. At the same time, this mindset allowed racism to persist with many more resistance from those who benefited most from the system. So silence was justified as a neutral, and the neutrality was treated as a moral restraint rather than complicity. Black people were expected to carry the emotional, the physical, and the political burden of resistance, right? While being criticized for protesting too loudly, or too aggressively, or too often. At the same time, the absence from these struggles was normalized, even defended as rational self-interest. And the message was clear. If it doesn't hurt you directly, you don't have to care. So now, political repression, economic instability, state overreach, surveillance, censorship, and institutional failures increasingly affect white Americans. And that logic is breaking down because issues once dismissed as exaggerated or isolated are being experienced across racial lines. So protest is no longer seen as disruptive but necessary. And suddenly, collective action is framed as essential. And solidarity is being redefined as an urgent rather than optional. And so, in this new reality, many of the same people who once distanced themselves from Black struggles are now asking for unity, allyship, and mass participation. So the irony is striking here. Black Americans were previously told that others could not protest on their behalf because they didn't understand or weren't affected. But now, Black people are being asked to show up for causes but were ignored when the harm was racially concentrated. So this reversal exposes how conditional empathy has been in American culture. Support was withheld not because injustice was clear, but because it was convenient to ignore as long as it remained racialized and contained. So you get to understand that. So this moment also reveals how protest itself was delegitimized when it came from Black communities. When Black people protested, the focus was often shifted to property damage, tone, or disruption rather than the injustice being protested. But when similar tactics are used by broader or weaker groups, they are more likely to be framed as understandable expression of frustration. The difference is not the method, but whose pain is being centered and whose humanity is being validated. For Black Americans, this shift can feel like less progressive and more like confirmation of long-held truths because it underscores the reality that warnings were given repeatedly. Evidence was abundant and lived experience was offered as testimony, yet dismissed. And now that the consequences are no longer racially isolated, the same systems are finally being questioned. And this does not erase past harm or silence. And it raises difficult questions about trust, about accountability, and whether solidarity is rooted in shared suffering arrives too late. And also at a deeper level, this concept challenges the flawed idea that justice should be pursued when harm is personal. Now, true solidarity requires recognizing injustice, even when you are not its immediate target. Black Americans have long understood that system built to dehumanize one group can expand to others. So the current moment is a proof of that reality and not a sudden discovery. So what has changed is not the system, but who is now being affected. So this moment shows a choice rather than a conclusion. It can become another cycle where Black insights and resistance are only valued during crisis. Now, when discarded, when comfort returns, or it can mark a genius shift towards principled solidarity, one that does not depend on personal impact to recognize injustice. Whether this leads to lasting change depends on whether people are willing to confront not just what is happening now, but what they stayed silent when it was happening to others. Brothers and sisters, I'm your host and pray isn't Agent Stories. But until then, let me see you in my next video. Peace, love, and harmony. Salute.